for all things Astros with your hosts, sports writer Jeff Balke and Astros broadcaster and former third baseman Geoff Blum. Now, here's Balke and Blummer.
What is up, Astros fans? Welcome to episode 70 of the Believe in Astros podcast on the Believe Podcasting Network. I'm Jeff Balke alongside my partner Geoff Blum, eagerly preparing for graduation day for his triplets. Blummer, how are you doing this morning, my man?
Good. I accomplished a lot on the Monday, and now I'm ready for the party on Tuesday, graduation on Wednesday. But yeah, this household is moving at a frantic pace. So use the phrase "day off" very lightly.
I was going to say this is not your typical day off. Not when you've got and Blummer, it's made even more complicated for you because you have triplets. So it's one thing to be going through the graduation of one child, but three on the same day. I don't know how you do it, buddy.
This is it. Yeah, this is it. No, you know what? Everybody, that's one of the big, I get that comment all the time. I don't know how you do it. And I've even heard viciously awful comments like better you than me stuff from random people throughout the world, raising the triplets. And I'm like, you're right. It is better me than you because I'm going to be a better parent than you are. It's amazing because a lot of people are going to turn out for this. I mean, I think it's a big, event. Everybody's turning 18 and Corey and I are going to be empty nesters, even though our payroll is going to go up considerably.
I tell you, man, it's going to be a really odd transition for you, right? I mean, to go from all of that, all those people, like you had 4 people in your house in addition to you and your wife just last year, and to go from 4 to a big goose egg in the span of a year and a half, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be like the Miami Marlins after 2003.
It's just going
to we've won the championship and now we've just had a fire sale.
Oh, man, that's so funny. That to compare that to the Miami Marlins is pretty good. That is pretty strong, Blummer.
We're going to go from winning to nothing.
Oh my God, that's so good. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and of course on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe to keep up with us. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Believe in Astros. Obviously, follow us, subscribe to us on YouTube. It's worth it. You can find me at Jeff Balke and Blummer at Blummer27 pretty much everywhere on social media. Thank you to everyone who's given us 5 stars on Apple. Please continue to do so. And obviously send us your comments and questions. We love getting all of them from you and read them all. For example, are opposing teams going to keep bringing lefties up to face Yordan Alvarez?
Dude.
I mean, what are they doing?
Idiots.
No, it's what are they doing? I mean, I'm wearing
the guy in the bullpen when the phone rings. That's what I want to hear.
Be like, I want are you sure? Yeah.
I'd be like, I can't go. I'm sick.
That's right. I want to be the pitching coach who's like, you're asking for what? You want to what?
Exactly.
You do know it's Yordan. I've got my sweet new pitching ninja lid on today, which is I wonder what the pitching ninja thinks about lefty on lefty. I'll have to ask him sometime. Yeah. Before we get started into the fun, I just wanted to make a quick note of condolences to the family of John Nova Lomax. John, a tremendous writer in Houston. His family has a family history of archiving all sorts of things throughout history of Texas. He died this week too young at 53 years old. He and my wife Kathy worked together for many years, particularly at the Houston Press. And I actually took a trip with him into Louisiana in 2010 in a search for a guy riding a lawnmower across the South.
Really?
And it was, and we found him. And I got a great cover photo of it, and he wrote an incredible story. And it was fun. John used to refer to because I own a business and have a little bit of free time occasionally, not as much now as I used to, but back in those days where I was really side hustling it to make extra money, I used to fill a lot of roles at the Houston Press just on occasion. And John used to refer to me as the Bill Spires of the Houston Press and nice. Called me the ultimate utility man, which I always found that to be high praise. And so I'll take it. And so rest in peace, John. Gone too soon. All right, let's move on from that into something more fun like the Astros. And that is the streak continues.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 8 in a row now?
The Ocho.
And against the Brewers yesterday, where they just dismantled Brewer pitching. Speaking of that,
Corbin Burnes is legit, man. That guy's a Cy Young contender, and he got absolutely lit.
I mean, they did not show him any mercy at all. First, we had Fromber with the complete game shutty on Sunday. How often does that happen? You just never see that anymore.
Not very.
Then Christian Javier was 6 innings of 1-run ball in Milwaukee and got 12 homers, including 5 homers, 12 runs, 5 homers. Obviously we've talked about the offense coming around. Guess what? It came around. Hey, Mauricio Dubon with his first home run of the season. Pretty good.
Well, this is going to make you happy. How many on your baseball bingo or your Astros baseball bingo card did you have Mauricio Dubon getting a homer before Jose Abreu?
Wow, man. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Jose Abreu in a minute. My thing about Dubon is he just keeps hitting. Like, you can't keep him out. They kept him out for 5 days.
Dusty tried to cool him. In my head, I have this running joke that Dusty's the cooler. And Mauricio was that's cool, man. I'm going to come out here and hit a bomb.
Well, I think it's great, too, because it really does show his ability to be the utility guy.
Yes.
To be the modern day Bill, to be the modern day Bill Spires. Mm-hmm. He has that ability to come in off the bench and be that guy. And I think that's a really good thing to see. And of course, Corey Julks had his second home run of the year, and he just keeps hitting away. Granted, everybody was hitting yesterday except for Alex Bregman, which is, his own situation. As we talked about, the corners still struggling right now. But I tell you what, the Astros are on that run. We talked about them getting on that run. It's happening right now. 8 in a row. They're 1 game back of the Rangers. It feels like one of those times when they just sort of like, all right, and they just hit the clutch and boom, and they just pop past a bunch of people. What have you been seeing from them just in the last few games that seems different to you than, say, the prior, say, 20 before that?
Well, pitching has always been the first and foremost factor of this ball club, and we noticed that last year when they broke out of the gates. The offense was extremely slow last year in 2022. The pitching was off the charts, and then all of a sudden the offense showed up. And I think that's something that kind of happened this year. Is in spring training, everybody said if this team is healthy 1 through 9 in their lineup, they're going to be the best team in baseball. But they don't. They have a couple of injuries. Altuve's working himself back. Still question marks around Michael Brantley, but we're starting to see this offense kind of find its way a little bit, and we're starting to see them start to light it up, because the slug number for me was kind of low throughout the course of the year, except for Yordan, Tucker, and Jeremy Pena, and now you've got 5 home runs in 1 game. And that might be a little more typical of what you see moving forward, hopefully, for the Astros, because if this offense shows up and supports this pitching staff, who, they're still trying to find their way with JP France, Brandon Bielak, Hunter Brown is, it's a roller coaster as a rookie, but he's looking very good. But if you have the offense putting up 6 runs, there's nobody in the league that's going to beat you. And if this offense is able to put up 6 or more runs against guys like Corbin Burnes, that's only going to build this philosophy and this confidence and get this engine rolling a little bit. Yet, like you just said, we have not seen the Alex Bregman. We have not seen the Jose Abreu. And that's what's frightening to other teams around the league when you start to watch. And the Texas Rangers have these Astros crawling up their backs right now, and they're going, damn, they're not even firing on all cylinders, and they're punching out 12 runs.
No, they're not. That's the crazy part. They're missing 2 starting pitchers, really 3. I mean, if you count Luis Garcia, who's out for the season. They don't really have the same pitching staff they had last year. I mean, they do. I will say this, like we talked a little bit about this in the offseason. Kudos to Jim Crane for saying we have got to keep our bullpen together. Yeah. And it has paid off. It is absolutely 100% paid off for them. They have one of the best bullpens in baseball. Their ERA, their team ERA is 3rd in baseball after all this time. I mean, after a couple of shaky moments, these guys have been fantastic.
Yeah.
And so good for them.
No, they're good. But the bullpen has been crazy. Montero's going to figure it out. His stuff's too good. But Seth Martinez, Phil Maton, Stanek has been good. Hector Neris has been off the charts. And then Presley's just being Presley. I mean, that's 5 years, 5 or 8 guys out there that are rolling at a high level right now. So they're closing out close games. And when they don't have to, they're still closing them out.
Yeah. And look, let's just compare. I saw Michael Schwab posted this. I guess it was this morning. These are the record comparisons from 21, 22, and 23. So in 2021, at this point, they were 26 and 21. Last year, they were 29 and 18. This year, 28 and 19. So anybody who was all like worried about the Astros, remember we were just talking about like a week ago or two, we were talking about them flirting too much with 500.
Yeah, they couldn't get off the schneid. They just stayed right there in the middle of the pack. Now they're starting to take off.
Yeah, so much for that. That obviously is clearly in the rearview mirror for now. I mean, you never want to count your chickens, but we can count a couple of hatchlings at least. I mean, they've been mowing down, and then never mind Yordan. Look, we don't talk about Yordan that much on here because it's this foregone conclusion that he's one of the best players in baseball. So it's tough to just sit on here and just over and just
I'm
gush
running out of
over
words to describe him.
Exactly. I mean, it really does get to a point where you're sort of like, what do you say about him? And then you think of things like
borderline orgasmic,
which is one,
multiple.
Multiple, and or you can say that he
slaps.
There's all those, but I'm telling you right now, Yordan is ridiculous. The stat that I saw posted yesterday, first of all, through 410 games.
Drink this.
I don't know if you saw this stat. Ralph Kiner had 17 multi-home run games. Yordan is tied with Gary Sanchez with 14. Gary Sanchez for freaking. I mean. That, and then you look at his numbers. He has a 1,008 OPS. He's hitting 300. He has 12 homers and 46 RBIs in 41 games. I mean, 46 RBIs in 41 games is already insane. Yeah,
I made a comment, in the first week of the season when he drove in like 10 in his first 4 games or something crazy. Yeah. And I was like, TK's like, he's on pace for 200 RBIs. I go, if he gets to 200, I'm dyeing my hair orange or whatever it is. And now I'm like, bro, do I have to start looking for hair dye?
I was going to say
this is just over the quarter pole in the season. I mean, he's on pace for 150 at least right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if he doesn't get to like 125, 130, something went wrong. That's where he's at this point. It's incredible to think about that. He's on pace for 40 plus home runs. And he can get them in bunches as we saw yesterday. I mean, just a word to all of the opposing managers out there. Please, I'm begging you. Please keep bringing lefties out to face Yordan Alvarez fresh off the bench. Just keep doing it. I'm asking you as a friend, as a confidant.
Yeah. I want you to keep proving our point, please.
Oh, my God. I mean, I just feel like and by the way, never mind just Yordan. I feel like as this year goes by, in this year in particular, I'm not sure why, it feels like that narrative of we need to throw a lefty against a lefty is just getting decimated day after day after day in baseball. At some point, people are going to have to be like, maybe we shouldn't. It'd be a better idea to throw a good pitcher rather than a lefty, right? Just throw somebody.
But isn't that the idea? And this is what drove me nuts. I've had several conversations with managers around the league. And again, they're going to play numbers. They're going to play analytics. Yeah. Other guys have different reasons for it. But speaking with Larry Durker about managing, I loved what he said because this kind of falls into what you're talking about. If I'm managing the opposing team, if I'm just the Milwaukee Brewers in this series against Yordan Alvarez and the Astros, and I'm looking over there and I'm going, okay, the splits are ridiculous. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. This guy's going to mash. So Durker always said, what's my best option? is it the guy in the bullpen that I have up today, or is it the guy on the mound, the starting pitcher? Because Durker was notorious for letting these guys go a little bit longer because he felt the starters were a better option than whoever was coming in out of the bullpen. But I think this is where, instead of going, well, the numbers say, well, in the past, you can excuse your way into bringing that lefty in, even going back to 1927 when left on left was the idea. It's tougher to hit that way. But you've got an absolute freak in Yordan Alvarez. So why not go out to your best option? Don't you have a righty that has one pitch that might neutralize a Yordan, or is it that lefty? Because the guy we saw last night that he gave up the grand slam to was, drop down, weird angle, funky slider coming across, and he still took him deep. He still waited him out. He still got a good pitch and didn't miss it. So, why not throw your best option out there instead of just going, I have to go left on left?
I'll tell you something. The pitch that he threw was the incorrect pitch. That ball was straight over the heart of the plate. Well, he made a mistake.
The home run he hit off of one of the better names in baseball that we don't talk about, Richard Lovelady for the Oakland A's.
God, right?
Yeah. Dick Lovelady went out there and thought he was going to throw one of these bastard sliders on the outside corner, and it was a good pitch. Yet Yordan went around it and hit it into the second deck.
I'm trying to get past Dick Lovelady at the moment.
Yeah, what the heck, man? His parents are like, I got a great name for our son. Dad picked that name.
Dick Lovelady. Oh, my God. Jesus Christ. That's insane. Yeah, exactly. The thing is, in a way, Yordan is to power hitting what Jose Altuve has been just to hitting, period. It's almost impossible to throw to him, to pitch to him, because he can hit anything anywhere. And, we've seen that with Altuve over the years, where he'll just throw one arm out there and bloop a single, or whatever. And Yordan seems to be able to do that, but he does it with power. And I will say this. His plate discipline has gotten to be exceptional compared to where he was even just a year ago. That's
probably the most frightening factor.
Yeah, he has such discernment with his pitch choice, watching the ball and knowing where it's going to be. He's clearly seeing the ball great right now. Yeah. It's remarkable to watch, frankly.
Yeah. He's a lot of fun to watch. And that was, if he does this, I don't know how many more years, but if this is who Yordan is, what we're seeing with the discernment and the power, dude, in 4 or 5 years, you're going to look back and go, dude, this is our modern day Barry Bonds type situation. Yeah. Because Shohei Ohtani's got this ridiculous power, can do multiple things. Right. But to be able to be compared to a guy like Barry Bonds, he's the Tony Gwynn and, Fred McGriff put together kind of thing. It's unreal.
Yeah, well, you forget that Bonds was just a great hitter, period.
Phenomenal hitter.
Setting aside the bloated steroid era of, towards the end of his career, when that guy was early in his career, that guy was a machine at the plate. He really was. And his power numbers.
He had 3 MVPs. Yeah, you're right. And he was stealing bases.
Yeah, he was fast. He could hit with ridiculous accuracy at the plate. So yeah, you're right. It's not a crazy comparison. It's early, but it's not a crazy comparison given where we are. If you just look at those numbers, I want to talk about that before all right, let me just deal with this Jose Abreu situation. So here's my situation. I texted you about this the other night. I am not one of these people who are like, pull the plug on Jose Abreu. I'm not like that. Right. The guy has a track record that dates years. I feel like you've got to give him the benefit of the doubt in terms of time, and it's not hurting the ball club on the whole right now. So amazingly enough. So, okay. But one thing that I do have a serious bone to pick with, and of course it didn't happen last night, but it does, is batting him cleanup. What are you doing? Listen, if you want to bat Jose Abreu in 6th or 7th or something like that, great. That's excellent. What the hell is Dusty Baker doing shoving him in the cleanup spot? I know that there's this obsession with separating 2 left-handed batters. If you're going to do that, put Jeremy Pena in there. If you're going to do that, don't put Jose Abreu in there when the guy is hitting 2-0 right? He can't get on base. He's striking out more than he should. He certainly has no power. Like, you don't want, that's not your cleanup guy. You know, I still think go lefty like they did last night. To hell with it. I mean, they're your two best hitters, right? There's no reason to move Kyle Tucker down to like 5 or 6 just because you want to separate them out with a right-handed batter. That's an inning killer. And it makes me crazy, as you know.
Oh, man, there's so much right there. And first of all, I sat on this podcast with you and said, I like this signing. I like Jose Abreu. I thought it was a good signing. I thought it was going to be very productive in the middle part of that lineup because the Astros get on base so much. Yep. But it is absolutely backfiring right now because Jose Abreu is not driving in if he's not going to hit the home runs, I want to see him getting base hits with guys in scoring position. And that was one of the things that I said, this guy is a career 300 RISP guy, runners in scoring position, batting average. So I was like, okay, this guy, 15 home runs, fine. Hit the 15 home runs. I don't care, but drive in 75 to 100 for me. And he's not doing that right now.
No.
And I think that's where the problem lies. Now, I'm eating crow on that a little bit, but if he turns it around and drives in 75 to 100 at the end of the season, I'm going to be like, yeah, we told you, that kind of thing. But for the time being, in your argument is that the best option? And that's what you have to look at it as a manager. Now, I'd be real curious, and I may, when I get back on the broadcast in Oakland, I may bring these numbers up. I want to know what the numbers are with Abreu hitting behind Yordan. I want to know Yordan. Let me rephrase. I want to know Yordan's numbers when Abreu's hitting behind him. And then I want to know Yordan's numbers when Tucker's hitting behind him, because there is such a thing as protection, and this is what we're seeing, and it's a great explanation of it, because if there's 1 or 2 outs and there's an open base, I can put Yordan at first base, I could possibly get a double play with 1 out and a runner in scoring position. Or with 2 outs, I just pitch around him and then go to Jose Abreu and try and finish my inning off against him before I get to Kyle Tucker. And we've seen that a couple of times in the last week where we saw the bases loaded double play. We saw the double play last night, and that double play actually left Kyle Tucker on deck with runners in scoring position. And it's just like, what could be. And until Jose Abreu becomes who we hope he is, I'm not sure that the best spot for him is in that 4th spot, because to Dusty's credit, he probably is the most loyal and forgiving and understanding manager I've ever seen in my life. So as the player part of me, I'm like, I love that guy. I love Dusty. But at the same time, I'm going, man, they're good right now, like you said, but what could be?
I think that's what frustrates me about it, is that it's not like you're putting him on the bench. It's not like you're, demoting him to try and, you're not releasing him. You're just saying, listen, right now you're not hitting very well. Let's, and maybe he's thinking that they can give him protection. And so people can't pitch around. They can't pitch around him. But there's a point too, where like you said, I would love to see the splits of Yordan batting, get StatCast on the line. I'd love to find out what it's like for Yordan batting with Abreu behind him versus batting with Tucker behind him, because who knows? I could be wrong. I feel like it's got to be better with Tucker behind him, but we don't know. I mean, that's why this is a numbers game.
Even if the numbers are same, you know what number I think would really kind of stick out would be the walks for Yordan. I think Yordan's walks might be a little bit higher with Jose in front of him.
I could completely see that. Sorry. No. Yeah, I could completely see that. And also, look, as I was telling somebody on Twitter the other day, there's a reason why baseball, more than any other sport, is a game of statistics. It's because it's so long. It takes, it's a very long season. Things tend to balance themselves out over time. That's how it works, right? And so you just have to be patient, as much as we don't want to. As we can see from the record, we were all worried. Now they're fine.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good example. And actually, just to go behind the scenes a little bit, in that dugout, that would be one of the words of encouragement that you would use to guys who are getting off to slow starts. You're like, you'd basically go, you'd walk up to them and say, "What's on the back of your baseball card?" And you'd see the consistency in the numbers, and you'd be like, "That's who you are. You're going to get there. Just be patient."
Yeah, man, that's a really good way of looking at it. You have to be that way as a player too. You got to have a very short memory in baseball, more so than almost any.
This game will try and kill you.
It really will.
Or
I
at
just
least my
can't.
liver.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's like, oh, my liver. That's right. Like,
Where'd that come from?
The main thing is,
I just hope it's not a blown Sputinator.
That's the main thing. You don't want it to be.
Keep that thing intact.
That's right. You don't want to keep that. So let's talk. I want to talk just a little bit about Jake Meyers. Because the boy is on a tear right now. And it's fascinating to me because it's really coming a little bit at the expense of Chas McCormick, who's been pretty good all season long.
There's two viable options out there.
No, they're really. And Jake Meyers, like, he's outrageous right now. And I just pulled it up yesterday. In his last 10 games, he's hitting, his slash line is 281, 425 on base, 469 with an 894 OPS. He's got a home run, 5 RBIs, 3 doubles, and 6 runs scored. Never mind being one of the better defenders in center field. I mean, that catch he made last night.
Freaking out there. That play last night was insane, bro.
Well, the thing about last night wasn't just the running into the wall and making the play. It was how fast he got there. Like most guys, there's no chance they get to that ball. And it's just that speed, and he's obviously one of the better defensive center fielders in baseball. Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to put Chas McCormick on the bench because look, Chas has been hitting the ball well too. He's not playing poorly at all. He obviously made that huge catch last week, and himself. But my goodness, what do you do? Jake from Rake Farm is back.
Dude. For real, man. I'm gonna have to reincarnate that phrase because he has absolutely turned into it. And you can also say Jake from Take Farm too, because of that play he made last night and him running all over the place.
Yes,
I think we put up a stat the other day saying that Jake hadn't had a 5-star catch yet. He's made 9 of 10 4-star or better catches and things like that. So he's getting to those balls. But then I think last night they announced it a 20% catch probability on that ball up against the wall, and there's the 5-star catch that you want. But also, how about the fact, even though in that Oakland series, Ruiz hit that ball in the left center field gap, if he doesn't do the swim move, he was out because Jake came up, he got to the ball quickly, he turned and actually threw the ball with some authority, and it got to Altuve in plenty of time. It took a freak move to get safe at second base, but you're starting to see the entire game come around for Jake Meyers, because I think a lot of us were not even on the fence with him. I think we were kind of looking at him going, put Chas out there.
Right.
Because Chas was more aggressive. He was putting together better at bats. Jake looked tentative, didn't look like he was comfortable. And now we're starting to see him throw his body around and put some of these at bats together. And you're going, oh, that's what the numbers were saying. That's the guy.
Right. He looks like late season 2021 Jake Meyers.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that guy who was, and the thing interesting too about Jake Meyers is he's a guy that he's struck out way too much early in the season, but he started to cut down on that recently. He has pretty good plate discipline. He's not a terrible, wild swinger. But he hasn't really tried to swing for power very much. Not that he can't. He obviously has pop. They can do it, but it looks to me like he's just going up there and trying to put the bat on the ball, like trying to barrel up and not really thinking that much about trying to, he's just trying to drive it. And that's the result you see with he's had 3 doubles just in the last week. And a lot of that is just, and because he's fast too. Like once he gets on the base paths, he's speedy. Now he hasn't stolen very many bases, which is a little interesting to me considering just how quick he is. But man, he's just been so good. You can sit here now and start saying, well, maybe they do have a center fielder.
I know.
It's wild.
I agree. I agree. And just getting that little bit of a leg kick has really gotten him in a position to go out there and hammer baseballs. So he's making the adjustments. I love that part of it. But I think last year, towards the end of the year, he had to have led the swing or led the league in check swings for strikes. It was driving me nuts. He was indecisive and tentative. And all of a sudden this year, he's got that leg kick. He's seeing the ball better and he's letting it go. Just let the swing go and see what happens. And that's where he's kind of really found his success. And you know what? He should steal a little bit more. I know Martin Maldonado's swinging the shit out of it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
And getting his base hits and driving the balls. So you got to pick your spots. But if he's hitting in front of Martin and Martin's in a bad spot, stay out of the double play and try and steal that bag.
Absolutely. Here's one thing for you too, Blummer. What is the deal with the leg kick? Like Jeremy Pena got rid of his leg kick and became a better hitter. Jake Meyers has added a leg kick and become a better hitter. What is the deal with that? Like, what is it with the leg kick? You know, either way, like I don't know if I'm like a lot of fans, but I wonder, why do guys use it versus not using it?
Well, Jeremy Pena is already on his backside, and I think the leg kick kind of encouraged him to drift a little bit forward, so his head was moving a little bit. And then Jake Meyers, I think he didn't get on his backside enough, because if you watch Jeremy, he still has that front foot down, but he's still like 70% on his backside and 30% on the front. And then he really drives through the baseball when it gets to that contact zone. Okay. So he's already in a hyper athletic position anyways. And I think the leg kick, kind of screwed with the timing a little bit. Whereas Jake Meyers, like we said, was kind of tentative, didn't create that separation between the lower half and the upper half as he was trying to go. And I think with that leg kick, it's really given him an opportunity to get on that backside, load up and keep the hands back. And of course, he's seeing the ball so much better now, and because he's ready to rage. If you're just going out there trying to get hits or trying to make contact, you're going to make contact, you're going to make outs. But if you're up there trying to hit the ball as hard as you can, you're going to be in a more athletic, better position to go out there and be ready to fire.
So when you lean, obviously then your power must be coming from that back leg, right?
Yeah.
If you're using that, so you're pushing off that back leg. So when you pull that leg kick up, it's like a slingshotting yourself forward.
Yeah, you're not. It's. I'm trying to think. I always try and watch a boxer. Boxing. They have their hands up in front of them. They're not. They call it a jab because you're not trying to knock the guy out. You're just trying to jab him and open up a spot where you can come in there and throw an uppercut or a more powerful punch. But when they do have that powerful punch, the weight shifts. You get on that backside, you load up whatever your lead arm is, and then you fire driving through through the person or the baseball you're trying to make contact with.
Gotcha.
And if you're not loading up to fire through something, it's just you're going to annoy me, and I'm going to fight back.
You're going to annoy me. Blummer, how many fights have you been in your life, bro? You just don't. Many. You seem like a lover, thankfully. Not a fighter.
I am, but you know what? In those situations, you always got to have a slight bit of crazy. And fortunately, I've got the size.
Well, that's true. You're a physically imposing gentleman, and so
I'm hoping that's stalled out some thoughts.
I think maybe so. Yeah, it's like maybe I shouldn't mess with this guy. So I want a couple other things before we go. First of all, I just want to mention that Drew Gilbert.
Damn, dude.
At Double-A, his slash line right now is 317, 417, 463, and 880 OPS. By the way, that's not a small number at bats. I think it's like 40 at bats already. But he's got a homer, 3 doubles, 7 walks, and 8 Ks.
And I feel like every time he's doing it, it's like a game tying, game winning, go ahead.
Just the dude is like,
and he's showing a hose out there in the outfield. I mean, it's this guy? The more he does, the more you're kind of like looking over your shoulder, going, "Man, is this guy going to have an impact here sooner than we think?"
I got to feel like he is. I mean, the way he is, like he came up, a lot of guys, you know how it is. You move up one rung and then it takes you a little bit of time to adjust. He moved up one rung and he was like, I'm just going to start raking over them the same way I did at Double-A, at Single A Asheville. I'm just going to
Yeah, his talent's there, and he's another diminutive guy like Altuve, who is not necessarily, like we just talked about, physically imposing, but the talent. And I want to see the guy's mentality. I mean, I keep hearing this guy's like hyper aggressive. Yeah, will run through a brick wall for you.
Yeah.
Plays the game with intensity. I can't wait to see that, because the brief videos I'm watching, I'm going, damn, this guy's got something, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go down there. My brother-in-law and I talked about it the other day. We're going to go down to Corpus at some point here in not too distant future, and I think we'll go down there, catch a game and fish or something. But I want to get down there and watch it. I want to see him in person, to just sort of see what that looks like. Because apparently he just mashes, and he's got like a great. I've seen his swing, and it's a great swing.
Yeah.
He's got great balance and everything else. But yeah, he does have a cannon from the outfield too. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's going to be real interesting. Last thing. So I saw something today that is really weird. The AL East, every team in the AL East has a better record than every team in the AL Central. Except Minnesota and whoever the last place team, and they're tied, right? But basically the entire AL East is better than the entire AL Central. That is obviously it's early in the season, but that is weird. I mean, the AL East,
the AL Central, it doesn't. Dude. I mean, what are they bringing to the table? The Twins? I mean, the Guardians. I mean, I love Terry Francona.
Right.
I love Rocco Baldelli and Carlos Correa and some of these guys, but are they a threat?
Blue Jays?
No, I mean, I love me some Blue Jays, yeah, but the AL Central for me is just kind of blah.
It really is. It's becoming the AL West of the AL.
Yeah, well, it's definitely taking the heat off the West for being one of those lackluster divisions, because the Astros would run away with it. Now at least you got a little bit of intrigue with. I thought there'd be more intrigue with Seattle, but they can't get it done.
What is going on with them?
The Texas Rangers, their offense is terrible.
It's just
Kelnick is their only offense. That's the only highlight reel I see is Jared Kelnick hitting bombs.
It's just so weird that they're as bad as their
rotation is legit.
Yes, they have a legit starting rotation.
Kirby,
100%.
Gilbert, Castillo. Yeah. I mean, I know Robbie Ray's not in there, but man, dude, they've got 3 horses in that thing.
Right, and look, let's be honest. The Rangers have been playing over their heads. I mean, they're good, but their
offense is going bonkers.
It's their offense.
Yeah.
Remember a couple of years ago when the Rangers had that weird anomalous stat where like their record in 1-run games was like ridiculous. It was some, it
was like 15-16 or something like that.
Yeah, they won like in like 1-run games. They won like every game they could. It was like, I don't know, there was like an 800 winning percentage when they're in 1-run games or something ridiculous. I feel like that feels like what the Rangers are right now. They feel like an anomaly that has the chance to sort of. I mean, their offense is obviously very good. But I don't want to give them any
rotation
credit.
Should be all right. I mean, if they ever get to Grom back, I mean, they should be all right. Evaldi's having a Cy Young type start to the season. John Gray's a good pitcher. Heaney is doing good enough. Mm-hmm. But I think that the Rangers are outscoring their own bullpen.
Yeah,
and I think that because everything I read about the Rangers is this offense is dynamic, it's scoring runs, and then they're like, man, if we could get some bullpen help, that would really be nice.
Yeah, it's a weird balance for them. I mean, and frankly, they're kind of a perfect team for the Astros to play because the Astros don't like hitting against starters, but boy, they do like mashing relief pitchers.
Dude, they destroy everybody in the bullpen.
They have no mercy on relief pitchers whatsoever. It is absolutely it's continuing to be fascinating to watch. I mean, let's be honest. It's been kind of a weird baseball season already. There's a lot of sort of odd storylines and interesting stuff. I mean, there always is, right? There's always something going on, but this year in particular,
it feels like more.
Yeah, with all this, I think some of it is the rule changes. You know, it feels like some of it, with all the steals and with the pitch clock and all the injuries to pitchers and this. Yeah, it just feels like there's a lot going on. Yeah, boy, a lot of pitchers. They better watch it with the sticky stuff, man. Umpires are not playing around this year. They are not fooling around. They're like later, and then you got 10 games on the bench.
Yeah, they're like notches on their belts right now. Jeez.
I've always thought that a suspension for a pitcher should be different than a suspension for a regular rotation player, because if a pitcher gets suspended for 5 games, that's 1 start probably.
Yeah, it's only one game where it'd be 5 for a position player or 2 to 3 for a bullpen guy.
Yeah, I feel like they ought to revise that rule, especially for sticky stuff. I mean, if you're in there doing something illegal, then at least tell them, say, hey, you have to skip 3 starts or something. Force them out of a handful. Just make them do something. Anything that would be better. But anyway, I'm going to start preaching about rules, and that makes me
Balke.
I feel like an old guy, now all of a sudden, like, kids, you got to follow them rules. You gotta listen to your elders.
It's just not fair.
I know. Back in my day, there's Blum, the famous plumber.
I'm trying to avoid that. Jeez.
I know. It does feel like when you do it, you're like, oh. I sometimes think, what would my 20-year-old self say to me? Mm-hmm. And I'm concerned about what he might say.
Oh, man. Yeah.
He might not have a problem. Well, thanks, everybody, for joining us again today. Blummer, you got any final thoughts heading into, a graduation week? Congratulations on getting them through, buddy. Are you excited?
I am excited, and it'll be fun to celebrate. It's a celebration of our kids, but I also think it's a celebration of my wife and some of the family that were around us and friends who helped us out and the connections we've made over the years. But yeah, it's exciting and frightening as hell at the same time. So hopefully we did well enough to send them off.
What an accomplishment, though, really. I mean, to get all 4 of your kids through high school, all of them getting off to college, that's a big deal.
Thank you.
And it is a huge accomplishment as parents. So good on you for making that happen. My parents only had one, and that was more than enough for them, believe me.
Yeah. Well, I know my brother and I were enough to drive my mom crazy. So,
well, I think maybe it's boys too.
I think so. I think you're right.
It's like I like all those firecrackers in the mailbox, and all the time that I collected a bunch of money for Jerry's kids, and then spent it at the convenience store.
Oh my gosh, what's wrong with you?
I was like 10. I didn't even know what it meant. My cousin and I were like, let's go. We just saw on TV that they were saying go door to door and collect money. We're like, you can do that? So we just did. We didn't know it was for charity. We were just we're
panhandling at the age of 10.
It's ridiculous. Went to the little convenience store and bought a bunch of soda and candy. I mean, I was like, what? What did we do? Yeah. I was completely.
Jerry's kids also knows the Geoff Balke Pocket Fund.
That's exactly right, man. Like I said, boys, what are you going to do? All right, we'll be back next Tuesday with a fresh pod brought to you by Bet Online. You're just going to have to tide yourself over until then. I would recommend watching this several times. Also, a good watch right now. I think it's still available for one more day. It's the Foo Fighters got a new drummer, and they have a video where they have a rehearsal video. It's really good. It's like an hour long. You have to go on their website and you put in your email or whatever, and then you can watch it. I watched it yesterday. Pretty sweet. Huge thanks to all our listeners and viewers all over the place. You guys have been great. Liking, subscribing, commenting. Super thankful for all of you guys. Obviously, we've got Memorial Day coming up this weekend. Mm-hmm. So have a blast on Memorial Day. I'm going to be hanging out in my backyard. My buddy is coming over, and he's making a big thing of paella.
Ooh, paella's good.
Over the fire pit too. Damn. Fire up the fire
Some
pit.
Plantains on the side. I'm in,
dude. If you were in town, you'd get an invite. But sadly, you're going to be in Oakland, one of the best places.
Farts.
One of the best baseball venues in America. That's where Blummer is going to be. And where's the sad trumpets?
Yeah. Suck it.
Oh my God. Exactly. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And as always, go Astros.